Good day, I'm Jackson Mitchell. You guys have been waiting all day for my exclusive interview with Michael Hollick. I spoke to him just now, a few hours ago. So I'll leave you in to listen, and then I'll come back for a little bit of analysis.
So what is the importance of vitamin D?
Well, basically, vitamin D is necessary from birth until death. We now recognize that basically every tissue and cell in your body has a vitamin D receptor and therefore responds to vitamin D. But you may or may not know that vitamin D, coming from sun exposure to your skin or ingesting it in your diet, is totally inactive. And it has to go to your liver. It's converted to the major circulating form known as 25-hydroxyvitamin D, and then to your kidney 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D. And it plays a critical role in going to your intestine to tell your intestine to absorb the calcium that's in your diet. But we now know that vitamin D interacts with its vitamin D receptor in the intestine to cause that biologic response, but that most tissues in your body, including your immune cells, your brain, your colon, breast, prostate, and we now recognize that vitamin D probably can control almost up to 2,000 different genes, regulating both DNA synthesis, immune function, cell death, just to name a few. So we also know that during pregnancy, vitamin D deficiency increases risk for the most serious complication, preeclampsia. It increases risk for requiring a birthing. And it also increases risk for premature births if you're vitamin D deficient. Infants born of moms who are vitamin D deficient and are starting to get dental caries, they're more likely to develop wheezing disorders like asthma. We know that in early life that infants getting 2,000 units of vitamin D a day for 1 year and followed for 31 years reduced risk of getting type 1 diabetes by 88%. It reduces risk of getting multiple sclerosis by as much as 50%. There's good evidence that it reduces risk for cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, neurocognitive dysfunction, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disease, as well as infectious diseases.
Okay, that was a lot of information. It's really fascinating. Okay, so I feel like my immediate thought when I think of vitamin D is the sun. How long do people be spending out daily, every other day, outside? How long?
Right. So people always want to have a simple answer, right? So if you go on the internet, they say go out for 15 minutes. That's what Dr. Hollick says. Well, that's not what I said. What I said was reporter, okay, time of day, season, latitude, degree of skin pigmentation, altitude, weather conditions, all can affect how much vitamin D producing ultraviolet B rays are reaching the Earth's surface for you to make vitamin D. So I give an example, is if I know that I'm going to be on Cape Cod in the beach in a bathing suit, and I'm going to get a mild sunburn after 30 minutes, say at noontime, June, 15 minutes, arms and legs, abdomen and back, right? And then good sun protection, right? Always protect your face because it's the most sun damaged, right? But that translates on the internet to say, if you get 15 minutes of sunlight exposure, you can make vitamin D. That's not true. So for example, even in Arkansas, at 8 o'clock in the morning, if you were to go outside and it's really hot and warm, right, you make 0 vitamin D. If you live above Atlanta, Georgia, and you're exposed to sunlight, even at noontime, you make no vitamin D in the wintertime. And so you don't make any vitamin D until around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. It abruptly ends at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In the wintertime, time, if you live above Atlanta, Georgia, you basically cannot make any significant vitamin D from about October until next April. If you have dark skin pigment, it absorbs the vitamin D producing rays. And as a result, they need to be outside 5 to 10 times longer, a black adult compared to me. If you put a sunscreen on with SPF of 30 properly, it reduces your ability to make vitamin D in your skin by 97.5%. Fully absorbs vitamin D producing rays. So wearing clothing outside, which is a good sun protector, you make no vitamin D. If you go and to Mount Everest, and you go to 5,000 meters at base camp, you could year round. If you live at Agar, which is where the Taj Mahal was located, that at November we showed that you make no vitamin D, and that only if you go up higher altitude, less ozone absorbing vitamin D producing rays, more vitamin D that you make.
Okay, so it's just much more complex than just going outside for 25 minutes in the day. Okay.
Exactly right. So there's a solution, right? In this day and age, what you guys like to do, right? Develop an app. So we did, right? So you can go to dminder.info, dmindr.info, and it'll tell you anywhere on this planet, basically, when you can make vitamin D, how much vitamin D you make, and it warns you to get out of the sun so you don't get a sunburn.
Okay, that's really cool. I'm probably going to check that out after this. But you also have foods that have vitamin D. I know there's, can you talk a little bit about that? Eggs and there's different things of that nature. And you can also take supplements that have vitamin D.
Okay, so eggs, it turns out that an egg yolk has about 20 international units. We think that you need at least 1,000 to 2,000 units a day. So you can't get any adequate amount of vitamin D from egg yolk. There's 100 units in 8 ounces of milk. There's about 500 units in wild-caught salmon. 3.5 ounces. Oil contains about 400 units of vitamin D in a teaspoon, and that's it. And that's why vitamin D deficiency is so common, because you don't get it from your diet. It's a major source of sun exposure, and most people avoid the sun. And we're working all the time indoors, so you're not exposed to sunlight between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Okay, that's really interesting. So can you talk a little about supplements? Because there's not that many foods, but there's also like there's different, you can take a vitamin D supplement, then there's D2, D3.
Yeah, so it's mainly vitamin D3 now, because vitamin D3 is what you make in your skin. Vitamin D2 is made in yeast. And so vegans like vitamin D and not from an animal source. Vitamin D3 comes from cholesterol obtained from sheep's wool. And so as a result, vegans will often avoid vitamin D3. And so we've done the studies to show that whether vitamin D2 or vitamin D3 is in orange juice or in milk or in a supplement, that they work equally well. And you can take vitamin D on an empty stomach, full stomach, with fat, without fat, does not make any difference. And so most national brand, I take a national brand. I personally take 7,000 units every day. I had most of my patients on 3,000 to 5,000 units of vitamin D. I recommend 2,000 units of vitamin D a day. Helps maintain good health.
So everyone should be taking at least some type of vitamin D a day.
In my opinion, yes, unless you're a lifeguard, right? Because you aren't outside very much, right? There was a very interesting study done in Maasai herders and in Hazda bushmen to show that they're outside half naked all the time, right? Super dark skin, but their blood levels are in the range of about 40 to 60 nanograms per ml for their major circulating form, 25-hydroxyvitamin D. To get there, you would need to take about 6,000 units of vitamin D a day. So I think that it's telling us that our hunter-gatherers outside every day, that's how much vitamin D was perfect for them. And that's what I have always recommended to my patients. And I practice it myself.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, a couple of things. One is that especially for teens or even children, right? When they're in school, they're working all the time. They feel fatigue. They have aches and pains in their bones and muscles, right? Vitamin D deficiency will cause that to happen. We think that it improves mood. There's evidence, at least in an animal model, to show that it improves serotonin production in the brain, which of course is the way antidepressives work. We know that vitamin D is critically important for children and teenagers for bone growth and to maximize their dealt with osteoporosis earlier in life. So, in my opinion, vitamin D is a very essential nutrient, and that if we're not getting an adequate amount from sun exposure, in my opinion, getting it from your diet can help, but supplementation guarantees it.
Okay, I feel like you could talk for so long about this. It's really so fascinating to just hear you talking about it. But thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care.
Okay, so I believe that was a pretty good interview when I spoke to Dr. Hollick. Earlier this morning, we were talking about a whole range of different things that you just heard, and such as that app. I'll get on my phone here, and I downloaded that app, and I'm going to be testing it out throughout the next few weeks. I really do want to see how that all works, because I was just really fascinated as to what he was talking about. So hearing someone that's an expert in the field of vitamin D and really just an expert in the doctorate field, it's really awesome to hear from someone like that. As we do approach summer, people are going to be going outside to get their hands on in different things such as that. So I really hope you take into consideration what Dr. Hollick said earlier this morning. But for now, reporting here in Brookland for you, Jackson Mitchell with Brookland News.